Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick and mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I am passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you were meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. I am so excited to welcome a very special guest to today's episode, Ronica Cleary, who has recently come into my network, into my orbit, thanks to a very dear and mutual friend that we both share, Christina Barthold, who has been on the show before, and she is a connection queen. And it is Christina that I just can express my immense gratitude to for bringing Ronica into my world. And I am so excited for the conversation that Ronica and I are going to dive into today. We had a wonderful connection call last week just to connect, jam, get on the same page with a lot of things, compare notes. And here we are for our first ever podcast interview. So Ronica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love Christina as well. She really is the ultimate connector. And I'm so glad to know you now because of her.
I love that. And I first want to because I was so excited to learn about you, let's just have everyone learn more about who Ronica is. What does she do? What is she about? And then we're going to go deep into some great questions about your niche and your zone of genius.
I love that. If you would say the first part of that question again, I lost you just a little. I think I know what you're going for, but I want to make sure I answer it.
I would love for everyone just to understand your story. You know, where you're from, where you live, what you're about, and then we'll really kind of get into that nitty-gritty of your niche that I am so excited to dive into.
Oh, thank you so much for that question. That's really nice. So let's see, where should I begin? No, I'm just kidding. But in a nutshell, I've worked in multiple industries, but most recently, in the industry that really lends itself to what I do today, I was a television journalist. So I worked in TV news. I reported on programming that aired in New York City, New Jersey, and Philadelphia. And when I first started in that role, I was sort of like a general assignment reporter, but I really developed a passion for covering politics. And so little by little, I worked into the politics beat. And over time, that's all I covered was politics every day. And I really did love covering it as a reporter. It's fun. It's exciting. There's always a story every single day. So you're never like looking for something to talk about or cover or pitch. And then I was really fortunate. I was asked to move down to Washington, D.C. to cover politics in Washington for the Fox affiliate there, where I became a White House correspondent. And I just had a really amazing experience and journey in television that I feel very thankful for. And for various reasons, I did leave the industry. I did not re-sign my contract, and I started a PR agency. And Cleary Strategies today is really not what it was when I opened it. I wasn't exactly sure that I'd be a publicist. I kind of didn't know what a publicist was. I mean, you know what they are, but they don't work with a lot of TV people. TV is a little different, and a lot of PR agencies don't really specialize in TV, which I'll get to. And so I joke, I didn't call it Cleary Public Relations. I called it Cleary Strategies because I thought we'd cover comms and communications, and sure, we might help people with some TV bookings or things like that. But today, we're in our 6th year in business. I mean, really the majority of the work we do is getting our clients media placements. And we're very much like earned media and public relations. So we've transformed over the years because that's what our clients wanted. And I really love doing it, and we're pretty good at it. And because I come from TV, kind of to my point that there's not a lot of publicists that work day in and day out with TV, we like to say our differentiating factor is that we're really good at helping our clients get on TV because I really know the industry and I come from that world. So to bring it full circle, the nice thing is that I still feel like I very much have television in my life every day, even though I don't have to like put on makeup and go to a studio and cover breaking news and snowstorms and all these very tough things to cover, but I still feel like I'm a part of the industry. So I feel really thankful for that. It's like a very perfect balance.
Oh, I love this. And I have a few questions that popped up right as you were just sort of sharing your story and your background. But just a little nugget that I love that you called it strategies versus public relations or communications, because I feel like that already speaks to the levels in which you service your clients with the different modalities, the different strategies, different directions that you can take them and their business and their products, their service offerings, and just a wonderful thought when coming up with your brand name. So just a quick little applause for you there. I love that.
And it's so funny because it's like a full circle moment because obviously we provide strategy to our clients, right? So, Cleary Strategies really is a fitting name. But the only thing is that sometimes I think, these strategies could imply a lot of different industries, but I think it does work. And more we offer that sort of strategy and planning for our clients that maybe aren't ready to be pitched to the media. Maybe they're not sure what that looks like for their expertise and goals. And we can guide them through that process and be the help them with the vision of what it looks like for them to earn media versus some clients. I mean, it's just really obvious. You're a general practitioner, a doctor, right? I mean, there's tons of opportunities to be on TV if you're a general practitioner and a doctor. It's not a complicated pitching strategy, right? And I don't want to diminish the importance of that or the value of that, but it's kind of straightforward. I always like to use the example, like every spring there'll be a segment on TV with a general practitioner and it's like, is it allergies or is it a cold, right? I mean, you don't need a lot of strategy to know that there's going to be an interest in that story, where some of our clients and potential clients that we talk to now, it's not so obvious. And I think because of our experience in the industry, because we've placed so many segments, because we've written so many pitches, and then on top of that, on the other side of things, I've been on the receiving end of so many pitches, we can help them with that strategy to guide them through the process of what really is going to bring your message home, earn you the media attention that you deserve, help you increase and grow your credibility, your presence, do all that. So strategies, I think it's grown on me. For a little while there, I wasn't so sure about the name, but like I said, full circle moment, I'm all about it now.
Well, it feels like it comes with a lot of deep reflection, and I feel like this is sort of, I'm rolling my own eyes at this, of how I'm like, there's strategy behind the word strategies. So I think that is really neat. And I would love to know, because I know we sort of chatted about this, I think when we were on our connection call last week, how I did a few years in public relations, very different
Yes.
time. And now, fast forward, I'm a business owner and I have an online presence as well. So sort of, two different branches as a personal brand online and facilitating events and experiences. But also my husband and I own a gym. I'm a personal trainer. So very much that brick and mortar experience. And a lot of our listeners are in the entrepreneurship space. I would love to know from you, as an expert in the industry, when would a business or personal brand, for this variety of personnel, let's call it, that are listening to the show right now, when would they know if they're ready to bring on PR?
I love that question. And it's so important. And it can be really, it can be very hard to know the answer because not everybody just has a publicist in their friend circle to ask these questions. And then when you reach out to somebody that's in the industry, you don't know if they're telling you the truth, right? I mean, I'm not suggesting that people are deliberately misleading, but it's not a friend, it's not a trusted source. So I think let's think about this in really general terms, because all of your listeners are at different stages and places in their career, and yourself included. how do you know you're ready for PR? Well, there's a couple ways to know. I think number one, this sounds like crazy, but can you afford it? Okay. So sometimes I will have calls with people and they are bootstrapping and they are maybe taking out loans to start their business, or I mean, they are really fighting the fight to get off the ground. Frankly, I don't really think PR should make you go broke. I think that PR is a marketing expense that's important. And I think it should be part of your strategy at some point. But I have had people say to me, look, if you can get me this one placement, then I could pay your bill and it gets me a client. I can pay the bill for the next month. I don't think that's a good fit for PR. I really think for the most part, you should not use PR to get yourself to a place to afford your PR. Okay. And so that's sometimes a hard conversation to have with people. And I feel like I want to treat people the way I would want to be treated. And candidly, there are times when you do need to take out a loan to start a business, right? I mean, so sometimes you don't have the money to pay for things to get the business going, and that's okay. That's part of entrepreneurship and business and growth. But I am just very wary, and I really give this advice from my heart when it feels like it's going to be a serious financial struggle to pay for the public relations investment. I say, look, this isn't the right time. And the real reason behind that isn't because you couldn't scrape together the money and maybe pay for 3 months. Of course, you could do that. And you'd probably be fine. The real reason is that PR should be a long-term investment. So you're kind of ready to make that investment when you know you can put the time in to kind of see the results and the benefits of PR. It takes a while. It's not a transformation overnight in your business. And so that behind worrying about like paying the bill, the idea is, look, this is going to be a line item in my budget for the next year. And I'm going to make this investment over time. Now, maybe in that year, I realized the first PR agency I hired wasn't a great fit, but that's what I really mean. One exception might be is if you're in the process of maybe fundraising rounds, those clients will sometimes seek a publicist and do a shorter campaign because they'll say, look, we want to go to potential investors and show that we've been featured in X, Y, or Z. And we want to have that big splash and show clips in our presentations. That's a totally different reason where maybe that short-term investment makes a lot of sense. And you are pulling from like money that you've scraped together and you want that. But if you are just an established business, you're going to be around for a long time. This is the goal. Grow the business, focus on the business, get good customers that see the value of what you offer and have. And the budget for PR will come, and then you can invest in it for the long run.
Oh, I love that. And that was actually a question that popped up for me is when it comes to, a budget for PR, what would be like a reasonable range kind of on maybe like the more entry level scale or the larger like big kahuna scale that people might want to take away from this episode and just kind of file it away for when they're either currently, now they're like, this is so helpful, I'm ready to invest in PR, or it's something that they're going to circle back to in 6 to 12 months. What's sort of that budget range?
So it's really big. I mean, you could go anywhere from $1,500 a month to like $15,000 a month. And candidly, I have heard about people who have bad experiences, not just on the low end, but on the high end, right? I mean, because what happens sometimes, I think on the extremes, on the low end, the person, you'd say, okay, I could take $1,500 a month home. They don't have any money in that budget to pay for support. So then you are hiring a solopreneur. You are at the mercy of their time, the effort that they can only alone put into it. Any distractions in their life, disruptions are going to affect their ability to deliver for you. So that's where sometimes you can run into problems on that low end. And on that very high end, the problem is you've got a lot of really big name clients that can afford that. And unless you're that big name person, they might be happy to take your money and you're not the top of their priority list. So, candidly, we fall somewhere in the middle, and I'm happy to talk pricing, and there's pricing on our website if people want to reach out, because there's all different packages based on the stage that they're in and what they're looking for. But I think you could find, probably my guess is you can find pretty good publicists at many price ranges, but you have to do your homework. And I would say that just because the publicist is more expensive or in that like big New York City retainer, $12,000 to $15,000 rate, that does not guarantee they're going to give you the time and attention you deserve. So it's about doing due diligence, interviewing multiple agencies, asking for referrals. Sometimes I have people that maybe they're not a good fit for our agency, and I'll say to them, tell me who else you're considering, and I can give you some insight into what they're offering and the pricing they're suggesting for it. And that's where it's nice to kind of have a publicist in your friend circle, because we can give you that without trying to make the deal or close the deal.
Well, I think that's an excellent reflection just of your, who you are, who you are at your core authentically, that you're going to give somebody that honest feedback or take them through a conversation and just honestly say to them that we're not your best fit. This, colleague of mine is. And I think that's a whole other component to this conversation that maybe we can circle back to, just of, personal development, entrepreneurship, that sitting in that gratitude for your business and confidence to refer to someone that is in, quote unquote, a competition. But I think that comes down to some really incredible mindset work that you've done. And I just wanted to applaud that. It's so nice to receive in this conversation and hear.
I think, I say, um, look, there is enough business out there for everybody, right? There's not like the PR industry is huge. And some of my best friends, referral sources, people I've gone in on projects together are other PR agency founders, solopreneurs. We hire each other sometimes. I mean, so I think it's really short-sighted. Look, I'm a competitive person. I make no bones about it, and I want to do really well. And I don't think we should apologize for that, especially as women. I think sometimes we're sort of trained, or I don't know what the right word is, because maybe it's not deliberate. Maybe it's a subconscious thing to feel like, oh, we should apologize for that. But I think you can be really competitive and want to do well without stepping on people, without taking work that you shouldn't take. So there are traits that you're like, well, that's not really aligned with being competitive. Because if I take a client I shouldn't take, what does that do in the long run? Then that client is never going to send referrals to me. It's going to tell people they had a bad experience. I mean, it just doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve them. So and then you give somebody a great referral. Guess what they do the next time they have somebody that's not a fit for them? They send you a great referral. So I think that that's applicable to any business. It's very rare that you are so unique that you have one competitor, right? I mean, and when you're in a very busy industry, you might as well like rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing versus stepping on people to get where you want to be.
Ronica, you hit the nail on the head. That's my exact outlook when it comes to business. That's what Matt and I sort of adopt in our brick and mortar business from a fitness standpoint. There's something for everyone, and you aren't going to be everything for everyone. You can't be. So I think having that mentality, and that there is enough space and enough business to go around for everyone, and that everybody can win and we can all be at the top, I think that is such an excellent mindset, perspective, attitude to have, deep into your core values. And I love that came up so naturally in this conversation. But before we kind of skirt onto some of the next questions I have, I wanted to kind of circle back on one little component from a budget standpoint, when you're more so timeline versus budget in terms of bringing PR into your business. What if you have a launch? Like, what if you are, a brick and mortar business that you're service based and you're going to launch a new service that you want to promote, or you're product based and you're launching a new product? What are your thoughts surrounding, short-term PR that supports a launch?
So that's interesting. We certainly will do shorter campaigns. I would say, though, what you should do is be really candid and honest with the potential publicist that you're talking to. And maybe you say, look, we don't need PR all the time because of the type of industry that we're in. But what you might do is say, let's do a 3 to 6 month contract around this launch or opening or campaign, knowing full well that we're going to pause at the end, but also knowing that you've done all the publicist will have done all the homework, understand the business, understand you as the founder, whoever it may be, so that they could come back and pick up for other short campaigns. We've certainly had clients do that where they might not be active on our roster today, but for all intents and purposes, they are. Maybe it's a seasonal client. Like I use this example. We represented a Santa staffing agency during the height of COVID. It was like safe virtual Santa visits. And I mean, we booked them a lot, right? I mean, it was like a very hot story. It was like a way you could tell a holiday story with COVID tied into it. And candidly, I mean, if I said to the guy, well, you have to sign a 6-month contract with me into March, that doesn't really fit, right? So it's like you have to have a publicist that's going to look at the what you have to offer, the timeliness and the time sensitivity of what you're offering, and be willing to make a deal that fits in with that. I do believe that as business owners, and if your listeners are business owners, look, we have to honor ourselves. We have budgets. We should strive for, like, if you're in a retainer-based business, you strive for 6-month contracts. How else can you plan out payments and all of your bills and everything? I get that, and I live by that sort of mantra and philosophy, but I also get you have a really cool potential client that's in a very seasonal industry and you want to do the work, you're going to accommodate a little bit and say, like, let's do this really cool holiday story. And we really shouldn't do a 6-month contract. So I think it's going into it. And like, that's from my perspective as the publicist. So from your perspective as a business owner, you should hear the publicist out. If they say, wait, hear me out, I actually think we can have more longevity here. We can have longer legs here. And this is why I think you should consider that 6-month contract. But I think you as a business owner going into it, if you feel otherwise, be willing to make that case. But I like the idea of saying, my intention is that I want you to be my go-to publicist, and I want to bring you on for other campaigns throughout the year. Or if every year we always do this event, I want you to be my go-to PR agency. And that's the relationship I'm looking for. So it's about transparency. Hear the publicists out. If they see opportunities for you to be around longer, that's really our job. I recently had a conversation with a potential client, and she was like, well, this is the month on the calendar where I really obviously fit in, right? Based on what she did. And she said, well, I just don't know what you could do for me outside of that month. And I said, well, that's my job. So that's my job, to make you relevant and interesting far beyond the obvious. But then of course, there's always times where you're like, even beyond the obvious, there's not much more. And that's okay too. So I tried to answer that question really from both perspectives, and how if both people go into it with that openness and also just kind of understanding the industry, I think you'll ask better questions and you'll better receive like the information they're providing. And then also, if you're asking the publicist to do you a favor and not do a 6-month contract, you want to sort of show them where your head's at, and maybe say, I'll sign for the next 2 years during this short window of our annual, whatever it may be, to give you the commitment that I really am like loyal to you and that I want you to be part of my team, even though it doesn't make sense for me to pay you like in every August because we don't do anything in August, or whatever it may be.
I love that. And I think that was a really powerful takeaway for people listening, that it is honest, but also really accurate, that how it can fit into, or, potentially fit into their business plan, their annual plan with their products and services when it comes to new launches. And I feel like that kind of ties in beautifully to the next question, is that when is the best time, or what makes a business, this is probably a more appropriate way to phrase the question, but what makes a business newsworthy or interesting to the people that would be booking? It's one thing between the publicist and the client and what you find interesting about them, but what would catch the eye of reporters and producers, or the people that are booking segments on television, spreads in magazines and newspapers?
Right. That is the age-old question, right? That's like what you get over time and with experience from doing a lot of pitching, right? You really start to see what lands and what works. I think there are some tried and true things that you can assume are always going to help. Okay. So I think if your goal is to be featured on television, there are two things to think about. If you're an expert or a thought leader,
Mhm.
it helps to have the official like certification or credibility or whatever like governing body issues, whatever it is you need to talk about that topic. That's very helpful. And it does help to have written a book. It's not required, but I think that elevates the belief that you are the expert you claim to be. And I do want to dispel the myth. I don't think that the book, excuse me, let me put it like this. I think that the book can certainly be self-published. I think that the book should be a good book, a solid book. You should work to get an Amazon bestseller status, which pretty much anyone can do with strategy, focus, and leaning in on their network. It can be done. But I don't think you should write yourself out if you say, well, I can't get a big publishing house to do this. So I think as an expert, those things help. Okay. Now, if you have a product-based business or a brick and mortar shop or a restaurant, the thing that's important is that is it visual and can the anchor or reporter do something with the business? Okay, so if you have a product, is it food based? Like, can they make the food on air? Can they make the cocktails? Like, for example, we represented it was mainly an olive oil brand, but they also had a line of vinegar. And just in a conversation with the client, they said, oh, you can make cocktails with our vinegar. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And wouldn't you know, there's a day on the calendar called Vinegar Day. So we were able to use that to pitch vinegar cocktails. So the idea is the segment, you really can't book a segment that's like, here, let me tell you all about my vinegar. That's not easy to do. That's really a commercial, and that goes into paid media, which is a totally different industry. But you can book a segment to say, hey, it's Vinegar Day, and I have this really cool this really cool cocktail recipe that features vinegar. We'll send you all the ingredients, and we have our founder. She'll tell you a little bit about her story, and you can make this really awesome cocktail. So that's the other part of it. So if you're in that other space, what can the anchor or reporter do with the product? Or let's say it's brick and mortar. Can you invite the anchor or reporter to your location? We've all seen those segments. I know you're in Canada, but TV is very much the same anywhere you go, especially local news, and you'll see, like, let's say the weather person finishes their weather report or the traffic person finishes their traffic. And what do they do the last hour of the newscast? They go somewhere in the community and they like make breakfast for everybody, or they, go out and they go skiing or something, or tubing on the local mountain to show the activities available. So that it's that interactive piece that reporter or anchor or booker or producer needs. That's the only way they can like do the segment. So you want to think about your business and say, what can I do that's visual? Now, that's only TV. That's not like every sort of media, I don't want to say platform, but every sort of type of media kind of all has different things you need to kind of help stand out. But I think TV is the most sort of elusive. And a lot of people think, oh, I could never be on TV, or it must be so hard to get on TV. So that's our specialty. And I like to start there. And the last thing I want to say about this is local news features local businesses and local people. Do not write yourself off or think that because you have a local business or you're a local accountant or lawyer that you can't be featured on local news stations, or even, maybe even one day national news stations. But I think that is something where people write themselves off. They don't give themselves enough credit for the fact that those newsrooms want to feature real people from their communities. So I think that's a really important thing to drive home.
I feel like the world has changed so much in terms of media, how people are consuming media, different platforms. And that's why I've been so excited for this conversation. But I feel like TV is still sexy. I feel like it would still be sexy to say, like, as seen on X, Y, or Z show or morning show. I've been having this conversation because I've been in a fitness magazine, and I was just saying this to somebody yesterday, how I feel like I've not really leveraged this exposure. And I have another opportunity coming up that now I'm like feverishly writing notes as we're chatting, and like probably have one eye on the screen and one eye on my
I love it. Write your notes, take notes. I want you to do that. Don't take notes if you're driving while you listen, but like please stop and take notes at home. And I heard you say, did you say you have an opportunity coming up? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I have a magazine cover opportunity coming up.
Oh, that is amazing. And so that's not TV, but it's still sexy. And I would say, and TV is sexy, no matter how much the industry is changing. People loved, I mean, being on TV is still great. But like, I think in many ways, probably for your magazine opportunity, a lot of the idea of the visual elements that we look for TV also still matter because I don't know what's happening in your situation, but maybe they're sending a photographer. Maybe they want to come to the brick and mortar. Maybe they want to see you leading a class or showing how fitness is a part of your life. They're going to want that in the pictures if they're taking pictures to tell the story visually, right? Because it's more than just words. People are compelled by what they see to take action. So really across all mediums, even podcasts anymore. I mean, we're sitting here looking at each other. There's going to be video with this. The visual matters. There's an expression in TV, see a dog, say a dog, see a dog. And the idea is if you say dog on TV, you better see a dog at the same time. And that's just, you can repeat that to yourself. And the other expression in TV is pics or it didn't happen. And the meaning is if you don't have pictures with this story or pitch that you're sending, it's like it never happened. And so I think it really stresses the importance of visual elements. And I think you really can, that those little sayings, you could argue are relevant across pretty much all media platforms.
Well, I think it is so neat too to combine, public relations, more traditional media. Let's call it an on-air TV opportunity. Or actually, better yet, let's use this magazine opportunity because it's been in the past.
Yeah,
already,
let's talk about it.
This shoot. And I had said to my husband when I was gearing up for it, I was like, you know what? I feel like it would be worth my investment to bring our social coordinator along for the day and pay her to capture a ton of video for behind the scenes. And Ronica, it was like the best money I spent that day because I have had reels produced from that one day. And I already have reached out to her for the upcoming shoot. I was like, are you available? I need you to come because I think it is so great to combine, media platform A and media platform B with like this sexy opportunity to be in a magazine, yes, but also combining it with what people are really responding to with Instagram and TikTok and X, Y, and Z platforms that we can be on. So what has
That's
that even
so
been like?
True. I was going to say what you did was so smart. I mean, you want to give any media opportunity that you get, you want to give it legs. You want to let it live for as long as possible. And so it's like if something airs on TV and only those viewers at that moment see it, then what was the point? Or if only the subscribers of that magazine read it, then you've really missed the full opportunity, right? And that's where, we say we're not a social media agency, but we will create really beautiful content for you that can be used on your social media platforms to allow the placements that we create live a lot longer. And that's very important. You can't just do a podcast and hope a subscriber listens. Plus, you're not doing any service to the podcast itself, right? You want to show support to them. And you also want people to have a reason to go listen, right? So that clip on social or that reel you make from behind the scenes on your magazine. And between us, I mean, you don't even need your social media manager. When I don't put myself in the press too much, but on the rare occasion I'm in a magazine, who shoots my behind the scenes reels?
Tell me.
My mom. I'm like, Mom, do you want to come with me? I need somebody to shoot video of me behind the scene. I mean, I have one on I'll go find it after this. I'll show you it. And it looks great. And, it's like a nice mother-daughter day. And I guess what I'm just saying is when someone's listening to this, I do think sometimes this world can feel a little like I can't break into it. Or kind of in the beginning where I said you shouldn't go broke to invest in PR, of course, but you still might have opportunities that fall in your lap. Still make the most of them. Don't second guess that, or don't say, oh, well, I can't afford this social media manager, so I can't have the reel. Bring a friend, bring your mom, bring somebody, and get the most out of it, because the coolest thing about the world we live in today is that with social media, we don't mind if something is shot on a cell phone. We don't mind if something isn't perfect. In fact, I think there's a real rejection of that. I try to not use too many filters. And I want to look like, if you see me on social media, I'd like you to meet me in person and not say, oh, that's the same person. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And so don't dismiss what you have access to as like not good enough. Use what you can use now, and then you'll grow into the next level where you can like get the next thing or have the social media manager come or whatever it is. So
I think that's great advice. And I think that's one thing that I am starting to really share with maybe the younger generation that's kind of building on their entrepreneurship skills is get scrappy, or do some
yes.
trades that I'll come to this event of yours and film you, and then I have an event in 2 weeks, I'd love for you to do the same. Like, I think there's so much power in just getting gritty and scrappy, and not, you don't have to spend money. Where can you trade, or service trade, whatever it may be, and really build on that.
You have to get creative, especially when you're trying to build your resume is the wrong word. What am I trying to think of? Sort of, oh, excuse me. Especially when you're trying to build your portfolio, right? In the beginning, you sort of have to get creative on who you might take. And that doesn't mean you should continue to not value yourself. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to grow out of that stage. But that's a great way to build your reputation in an industry, to show people when you want those bigger rates, when you want to charge more, when you want to graduate to the next level. Well, how are you going to, part of that is earning your stripes. And so I love that idea of getting scrappy, and, don't just be busy to be busy, but if you can work hard with focus and a direction in mind that you're working towards this goal, then you should do it.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And before we kind of like depart from the, let's quote unquote social media discussion, have you found that there are certain platforms, let's call it like a Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, like have you found that there are some platforms that pair more beautifully with traditional PR than others?
I think I've struggled the most to pair TikTok with traditional PR, because unless you always have somebody there doing a behind the scenes kind of reel, I don't know that like a traditional media placement is a really TikTok friendly content. I think you can sort of make the content work on almost all other platforms. Like if you have a TV clip, you could put that on YouTube, you could put it on LinkedIn, um, it just works. It works on a lot of platforms, and you could put it on TikTok too. But I think TikTok's algorithm and sort of content is so unique that, look, we still put TV hits on TikTok and our clients will still do that. But I try to like dress them up a little more, if you will. I'll try to throw more edits in them because like the algorithm responds when there's like cuts in the clip more. It's adding text to it, some music, where I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that you could take a clip from a TV appearance and really just cut it and put it on LinkedIn, and it might still do quite well in its normal form. I do think that TikTok especially might require some additional editing just for that platform to help it do well. But candidly, I think there is a way to use any media hit and make it work on most social media. You just have to be creative, and you also have to understand that it might not necessarily work the same across all platforms, or each placement might not work the same across them. But I mean, like, you could still put them on all the platforms. It just might not be as effective on each of them. And you have to think about the audience and who's your potential customer, where are your potential customers. I mean, there is a lot to think about, and obviously each of those platforms sort of caters to a different viewer. But yeah, I think TikTok's the one that just, I think, okay, well, when we make if you're in a magazine, right, what is the TikTok reel? Unless you, if you have the behind the scenes person, then you're showing the behind the scenes photo shoot, and maybe you're showing the final pages at the end. But if you don't have that, then I struggle sometimes thinking what is the post.
Totally. And I feel like, TikTok's almost like the eccentric child of all of the social platforms. And it's something that Like for me personally, I am not super proficient in TikTok. I applaud all of these creators that have like hundreds of thousands and millions of followers and views and are monetizing their page. But I think there's also power in being like omnipresent on a couple of different platforms. And
For
maybe you
sure.
have your one to two that you do really well, and then you have another two that you're present on, but they're almost like the starring actress and then your supporting actress,
That's
something like
great.
that. Just for a little
And
good analogy.
I love that. And just to restate, like we are not a social media agency. We work closely with a lot of our clients have social media agencies, and we provide them with all of this content that we create. And then we let them, they're the experts, sort of present that in the best way across platforms. So what we really understand and work day in and day out is how to get our clients earned media, and then to make sure they have something to take away from that to use on their platforms that we then give to those experts. Because I don't want to make it like, I don't know how to do that. And like, I don't want people to think that's really what we do.
Totally. And I think it's really neat. And I love that you just kind of reiterated that for everybody listening. But I think it is really cool to see how the world of, let's call it more traditional PR, has really evolved, and how there can be this beautiful harmony between what we've gotten into now with social and what you can do, but all of these things that are still so significant and they're sexy and they're achievements that we were having this conversation last week when I was in PR, and I had a watch placed in this really cool magazine, and it was, the biggest win of my career that year, because somebody went in with the coverage and they asked for that exact watch, and that just felt like such a win. And I still
That's a
think there is,
huge win.
yeah, like I still think there's so much power in that, sitting here in 2024, and where everything can go in terms of those opportunities for businesses and personal brands and products and services.
I mean, that would still be a win today. A magazine feature and somebody walks in and says, "Hey, I saw this in this magazine," right? I mean, that would be amazing. It's just very different. Digital placements today, most of our clients, if you have a product, I mean, you need to be available with an affiliate so that the magazines can get a kickback for any click on the product in the magazine, the digital version of the magazine. They can get a commission for any purchase made through that link. And the interesting thing, I don't want to derail into a new topic. It's just very different today. None of that is considered pay to play. That's still considered earned media because you technically are not paying for the placement, but you are giving the magazine a commission for any sales that may result from the placement. So taking your experience that you had when you were in PR, that person like walked in the store and wanted to buy the watch. Well, today, if that magazine is online, we can actually track how many people click on that watch advertisement and then how many people buy the watch from it. And that's how you sell yourself as a publicist and say you don't need to hear the story. Now you've got this like digital proof. And so it's really fascinating. That transformed a lot in the height of COVID. That was kind of a thing that was bubbling in the background, and then COVID really just accelerated the use of affiliate sales in earned media. And it's a lot. It's a really big shift and change, but it's also very cool.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought this up, because you shared this with me on our connection call. So let's unpack this just a little bit more about the affiliate side of earned media. And, let's break down what the affiliate means, just in case there's someone listening that their eyes are crossed and are not sure what we're talking about, but just unpack this and break this down for us.
Okay, I'm going to do my best and I'll try to make it concise, because really, that when you said their eyes are crossed, I did really, when it first came into sort of when it first became something that like you just knew you had to do, I found it to be very confusing to integrate into our strategy and into our work. So I know this seems kind of cheesy, but don't beat yourself up if you think this is confusing, because it really is. So the idea is you are basically creating a way for anybody that carries the link to your product to get a commission. Like in a nutshell, that's what affiliate does. Now, there are, I would say, more complicated layers involved in digital and magazine pitching, because some of these are really big magazines. And whereas let's say like it was a local thing, or a friend of yours was doing like somebody's like a local influencer on Instagram, and they're going to get like a a code or something to get a kickback. That's kind of technically affiliate relationship. And you would work with them behind the scenes and come up with a code. The thing where it gets a little complicated and I think can feel intimidating is if you're pitching like Cosmopolitan, they're not going to sit and talk to you to like figure out what your percentage is. It all has to be done through a really established platform. And two words you'll hear a lot are share a sale and skim links. And what I would say is, you can talk to me if it's something you want to do, or you can reach out to other experts in the space. But I would say if you're looking to pitch your product into some major publications, the best thing you could do is get yourself listed on share a sale and skim links, because then what you do is you remove that need for that conversation behind the scenes. You go in and you say, this is the commission I'm willing to offer. This is the click rate. And then you even say, this is the link to join my affiliate. They can do it immediately. And so that's what a publicist will help you facilitate. I mean, a publicist that's kind of savvy in the space of affiliate marketing, which is confusing. They call it affiliate marketing, even though it's affiliate public relations. But the idea is we would facilitate all of that for you. So then we integrate that right into our pitches, because from the get-go, when you pitch that you've got, let's go back to the watch example, watches for sale, the freelance reporter that's writing about the top 10 best watches for Christmas is not going to take the time to come back and say to you, is this available with an affiliate commission? They're not going to do that. And so we know how to incorporate a great pitch, why this watch is so incredible. And then, oh, by the way, available on affiliate, click here. This is our percentage that we can offer. And if you want to do if you want exclusive coverage, maybe we can up that percentage. So many times, if we get that placement, we've never even heard from the reporter. They're literally in their inbox that has 1,000 emails coming in a day. They're looking for the 10 best watches. They're looking for the top commission rates that they can get for their publishers so that they get hired again as freelancers. I mean, it's really crazy how it works. And we find out from an alert, oh, you made that top 10 list. Look at that. And so that's where, as much as people do want to do PR themselves, I really think you can benefit from an expert, because we're going to save you a lot of time and a lot of mistakes if you hire the right one and hire the right agency and do that all right the first time. So I don't know if that answers your question. It's very complicated.
Ronica, my eyes are crossed. Just kidding.
Oh,
no. Okay, that was so helpful.
I tried. It's very hard. I hope so.
And it's also just so fascinating. I love learning new things, and you have just been this wealth of knowledge. And so, before we wrap up, I have one more question. I would like to understand a bit more about paid media coverage, because this was something that I learned just in the last few months. I was like, wait, whoa, people are paying to be in this? They're paying to be on Forbes? So just educate me and everyone else that doesn't know, like myself.
Okay. I mean, look, you can pay to be, and here's the thing that really makes it confusing. I think before is very clear what is an advertisement, and that was paid, and what is editorial content, which is earned media. And what that means is you earn the coverage for your newsworthiness or for the interesting perspective you bring or your expertise. What really blurs the line and makes it confusing is that there is now paid media mixed in with the earned media and not clearly on the advertisements, right? So you will have segments on daytime TV shows that are not the commercials, that are paid placements. And so that's just the way it works now. And I would say, look, you have to do what makes sense for you. Some people want to be done. They just want a placement. They just want to say they were in a publication and they just want to pay for it. I do think that when the viewer figures out you paid for it, I think they receive it differently. They perceive it and receive it differently. They know you paid for it. Now, candidly, there is value in paid advertising. If there wasn't, there wouldn't be commercials all the time, right? It is not a waste to pay to get advertising. I just think there is something like, are you trying to trick people, right? Like, when you do it in the earned media space and then you like pay for a placement, I think people think they can be tricking you, but most of the time, eventually it comes out. You can tell. So look, I'm in earned media. That's what I do. Of course, I think that's the best. And I think that people give it more, like people think of it more highly and they think, oh, she was asked to be on that show versus she paid for that segment. I think being asked to be on the show for your expertise or your cool product is a more impressive thing and helps you build stronger credibility over time to hopefully build a stronger pipeline and get better customers and grow your business. But I would be also remiss to just say there's like no value in paid advertising. I just think that weird middle space of like paid media placements is confusing and, not something we really do. We get information all the time about like, oh, do you want to pay to be in this magazine or do you want to pay to be, I save it all in a file. And if somebody ever comes to me and says like, oh, I really just want to pay for something, I can give them some guidance because I'm like, I would be foolish to be in this industry to have no knowledge of it. But just generally speaking, it's not what we do.
So fascinating. I just remember when I learned that for the first time, it was just like, huh? The people are doing that because I was just sort of brought up for what I consumed. Then when I was in the industry for a short period of time, that earned media coverage was such a win. And I still hold it in such high regard. And, what goals that I have for myself, for our business, like it's still very much that feeling of someone asking you. It's like 10 out of 10, warm and fuzzy.
Good. You should tell everybody.
So, Ronica, this has just been the best conversation. I have learned so much. You're just such a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so excited for people to, maybe save and re-listen to this episode with their notepad or Post-it notes. I have my hot pink Post-it notes beside me full of notes, and we will definitely
I love it.
Have everything in the show notes of where they can find you. But first, the two-part question, if you have any parting words of wisdom, expertise, little nuggets that people can take away, but then also where people can find you, and we will follow up with all of that information in the show notes as well.
Well, thank you for that. I'm usually happy to with small businesses or people starting out, if they'd like just a 30-minute consultation, little advice, guidance on the process. As long as my life is not completely upside down, I'm happy to do that. And it's my goal to be an accessible resource because I really believe that's a valuable way to be. So if there's one thing I can leave, it's just that if this conversation piqued an interest or made you wonder, like, oh, she says be visual. Am I visual? Like, I'm happy to hear what you're thinking in your mind and give you some feedback on that. So I think that's what I would leave people with. And you can find me. So our website is Cleary Strategies. And I always joke, like, I thought I was getting an easy last name until I realized that when I got married, until I realized that it autocorrects to Clearly. So don't let it autocorrect. It's Cleary, Cleary Strategies. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Ronica Cleary. And then from there, you can connect to all of our Cleary Strategies agency accounts. And the cool thing is, if you're curious about like where we place our clients, what we do, we put sample segments from our roster up almost every day. So you can get a real feel for like, where could I be in the news, or where is a placement that somebody could help me get? You could see those real life examples.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I am so excited for everyone to have hopefully had some good takeaways from today, even if it is just one really powerful nugget. I
hope so too.
I have lots of takeaway nuggets, so I'm grateful for you. And I'm like, I kind of want a 30-minute call, but I think that is so kind of you to express that to everyone listening.
I totally mean it, and I'm happy to do it. And I'm really grateful for you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here and for just a great conversation. And I look forward to having you back again really, really soon. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for listening. And if you loved this episode, drop a little rating, drop a little review, and make sure you go check out Ronica on Instagram. Give her a follow, connect with her. If you had a valuable takeaway from today, I would love, love, love to see you guys, capture this episode, screenshot it, share it to your socials, tag myself and Ronica, and let us know what your takeaway was, because I think there were so many powerful nuggets to take away. So we would love to hear from you. As always, thank you for listening. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took 30 seconds and shared this on social media, send it to a friend, or leave a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I am so grateful to have you part of mine.